You are listening to the International Radio Report. Your reactions are much appreciated. Feel free to send them to radioreport@yahoo.com. That is radioreport@yahoo.com. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, to the International Radio Report for Sunday, August the 18th. My name's Sheldon. I am here with Jill, and you're listening to CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. We're here every Sunday morning with 30 minutes of news and information from the world of radio. And this week, it's going to be a busy one. Lots of things going on, lots of major stories breaking locally here in Montreal and elsewhere in Canada and the U.S., and we'll try to get in as much as we can, and we thank you for tuning in. And Jill, you'll start us off today with a big story out of Montreal.
Yep, the first story I found was on LaPresse, and then you sent me the Steve Faggy article from the Faxstein blog, and that's what we're going to use. Lar Drops WKND, or Weekend, in Montreal, will outsource daytime programming to Qub Radio. So 4 years after it's launched, Weekend 99.5, eager to introduce a new French-language commercial music station in Montreal to compete with the Bell and Cogeco behemoths. Leclerc Communication has thrown in the towel, laying off its on-air staff and choosing instead to source half of its programming from Québécois' Qub Radio, and fill the rest with low-budget rock music. On August 26th, the station, once known as Radio Classique, that was before the Weekend, will be renamed. Well, there isn't really a name for it, it's just 99.5 Montréal. The schedule will be identical to Québécois' digital opinion talk radio service between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. weekdays, just enough to stay under the limit of 50% talk programming, so it doesn't have to seek pre-approval from the CRTC for a format change. Qub, meanwhile, will transition to a more radio-sounding format, with Mario Dumont becoming the morning man. There will also be regular news updates and presumably weather and traffic. Isabelle Maréchal, a former midday host at 98.5, takes over the late morning slot, and Qub stalwarts Benoît Dutrissac, Sophie Durocher, and Richard Martineau fill out the daytime schedule. Presumably, evenings and weekends on Qub will still be mainly repeats and podcasts. Evenings and weekends on 99.5 will be rock music, though Leclerc was vague on what that would sound like and how much of it would have real people behind a microphone. The change is an admission that, despite Leclerc's assurance that Montreal was hungry for the allegedly unique format of Weekend, habits die hard, and it takes a lot of time and money to pull people away from the incumbents, especially when your transmitter isn't as powerful. You don't have a large conglomerate to help promote it, and your industry is already suffering because of post-pandemic lifestyle changes and advertising declines. Is this legal? That's the big question. The program supply agreement between Leclerc and Québécois is unusual, but it's not unprecedented. Same for the half-talk, half-music format. But whether it meets CRTC regulations may be up to the Commission to decide. Let's look at the issues. De facto control. This may be the trickiest issue for Leclerc to navigate. The CRTC requires that any radio station gets prior approval before a change in what's known as effective control. So if Leclerc wanted to sell the station to Québécois or any other company not owned by Leclerc family, it needs approval. There's a related rule that the licensee must be in charge of the license and its broadcasting. So Leclerc can simply hand over the reins to Québécois during the day. It still needs to be in charge, even if it's sourcing its programming from Qub. But it can still receive its programming from Québécois. Broadcaster get their programming from other companies all the time. In some cases, like when CBC allowed Rogers to take over its television stations during Hockey Night in Canada, the CRTC may require a network license. But that's doable if necessary, though because Qub Radio itself isn't licensed, it's not clear how that would work. Provided 99.5 maintains distinct branding, Qub Radio doesn't pretend it owns 99.5, and Leclerc sells its own advertising and has administrative staff. Where CRTC approval is required is if an FM station wants to switch to or from a specialty format, and talk radio is considered a specialty. Under current rules, music stations can have up to 50% of their schedule as talk radio without needing a license change. But if it goes above that, it's considered specialty. This is why the station is only going talk from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays. So long as 99.5 sticks to this schedule, with possible repeats during unregulated overnights, it should be in the clear. If you're wondering why Québécois wouldn't just buy the station, it's because of a CRTC limit on cross-media ownership that says a company can't own a daily newspaper, TV station, and radio station in the same market. Because Québécois owns the Journal de Montréal and TVA, it can't control a radio station in Montreal. This is why it launched Qub Radio as a digital-only format. So overall, it's a good thing, a bad thing. It's certainly something that's being side-loaded, if we can say, because it's not official. It's from a content that is online, which is not a radio station. It's bringing a voice of a very dominant big company, Québécois, which already dominates a lot, and that's never a good thing because you don't want too much of the same company controlling, the airwaves, especially with news talk. On 98.5, the big names, a lot of big names are gone. There's still Patrick Lagacé, which is a big name. We'll see if that can keep 98.5 there. Radio-Canada, I think, has its own audience that doesn't necessarily go on, private stations. It's interesting to see they're 1 megahertz away, 98.5, 99.5. Kind of interesting. But we'll see.
People may accidentally go mistune their radio and end up on, that sounds like news talk. I'll stay here. Find out they're on a different station. Yeah, I don't know. I can see a disc, which certainly wants music played on the radio, and especially French music. They're still going to have some of that. Not a full station, though, like they did have with the weekend radio. So I don't know. It's reminding me a little bit of American talk radio, though, that we're getting, the Radio-Canada one side of things, these guys, some of these politicians that are announcers now, ex-politicians, there's quite a battle going on for who's going to win what. So I guess they figure people want to hear about all of this, and talk radio is a place that people can go and voice their opinions. But how it's going to transfer from online and podcasts and stuff like that onto an actual radio station, we'll have to wait and see how that goes over. Next, we have a story passed along by Ricky Leong out in Calgary. It's from Broadcast Dialogue by Connie Thiessen, and this sounds like a repeat of so many stories we've had. Corus shutters 900 AM CHML Hamilton, Ontario. The closure of this radio station was announced in a post to the station's social media channel at noon Eastern, saying the decision has been made after years of financial losses. CHML's closure was announced via their X account, and, quote, "This decision, though incredibly difficult, has been made after careful consideration and is necessary following years of financial losses," the statement reads. The shift of advertising revenues to unregulated foreign platforms, combined with the difficult regulatory and competitive landscape, has forced us to make the difficult decision to close. The station has been serving the community in Hamilton, Ontario since 1927 and celebrated its 95th anniversary last September. Corus has operated CHML since the late 1999, when it took over the assets of 12 stations formerly owned by Western International Communications. Among the well-known voices to grace CHML's airwaves over the decades have been Paul Hanover, Paul Bertina, Tom Charrington, John Hardy, Ken Sobel, Jane Gray, and more recently, Bill Kelly, among many others. The move follows the closure in late June of 880 News CHQT-AM in Edmonton, a sister station to 630 CHED, and Vancouver all-traffic station AM 730 CKGO-AM, a sister station to 980 CKNW. Corus has not divulged whether it will be returning those licenses to the CRTC or whether it's seeking a buyer for any of the AM properties. And I tuned in last night to 900. CHML dominated that frequency in a lot of territory in North America. And there's a lot of smaller stations, some stations that are very low powered at nighttime. And it sounded like a bit of a graveyard when I checked it out last night. There were a couple rock music stations and a couple of talk station in Philadelphia, a lot of low-powered stations, some that seem to be cheating on their low power at night, though, too. So if you're a DXer, I'd suggest tuning to 900 and see what stations you can pull out of the pile-up that we'll now be hearing on 900. But sad to lose another long-time radio station, AM station in Canada, 900 CHML in Hamilton.
What I'd like to say here is, does Corus know what it's doing?
I think they want out of radio, probably, totally. Just selling off things and closing things and what have you. So,
it's sad to lose another one. Yep. So, another sad one and a very big surprise is about WCBS 880 to shut down as parent company sells news radio station to ESPN. So this is via the Daily News by Joseph Wilkenson. And we have an audio clip. Let's listen to this of WCBS going away.
Longtime New York news radio station WCBS 880 will end operations later this month, as the station's parent company sold the rights to ESPN. The decision ends a nearly 6-decade run for WCBS 880 as a go-to source for news and information across the tri-state area. ESPN New York, which currently operates on WEPN at 98.7 FM, will take over the 880 AM signal on August 26, according to a press release from Odyssey, which owns WCBS. ESPN's FM lease will expire at the end of August. The sale will leave 1010 Winds, also an Odyssey station, as the dominant all-news network in the New York area. All News is a pillar of Odyssey, and this decision, though difficult, fortifies that leadership position for generations to come, the company's New York market leader, Chris Oliviero, said in a statement. The sale also marks an odd chapter in the well-publicized WFAN-ESPN feud, as Odyssey also owns WFAN, a New York-centric sports radio station. However, the sale will increase ESPN New York's reach and signal strength, as they take over the massive and massively popular 880 AM feed. ESPN New York will control the programming on 880 AM for 3 years, sources told The Athletic. Odyssey will remain the station owner, though ESPN New York will control the content. New York Mets baseball broadcasts, a staple of WCBS 880, will remain on the 880 AM channel, according to Odyssey. WCBS 880 has been an all-news broadcast since August 1967, when it pivoted from music and radio shows. Through decades of turmoil and upheaval in radio in New York and across the country, the station remained a bastion of reliable information for New Yorkers and others throughout the tri-state area. WCBS 880 has been one of the most respected radio stations in history, with a legacy cemented by the hundreds of world-class journalists, on and off the air, who willed it into existence over the decades, Oliviero said. If it happened in New York or the world, you heard about it on WCBS 880. At least 23 employees at WCBS, represented by the Writers Guild of America, were laid off in the sale, according to the union. It's unclear how many non-union employees were affected. The closure of WCBS News Radio 880 is another example of consolidation by a major media conglomerate, which ultimately deprives the public of critical local news stories with different perspectives, the Guild said in a statement. Odyssey applied to change the call sign of the channel from WCBS to WHSQ. The Federal Communications Commission will need to approve the request. To commemorate the history of WCBS 880, the station will air a retrospective from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on August 22nd.
My first reaction was a huge surprise. I have a hard time understanding. A couple of months ago, we had an item about the most lucrative stations in the United States. and WCBS was in there. It's making a lot of money, and you're killing all of that and putting a sports format. I don't get it.
Yeah, the outpouring of comments about this is just amazing. It is everywhere you turn on the internet. We're finding it on all kinds of radio discussion groups, in newspaper articles, people just voicing opinions. I don't know. I think a lot of people are shocked by this. This station had incredible coverage. One of our friends, John Filiozzi, spends a lot of time in Florida. He would listen to it. He's from New York and would listen to it down in Florida every night coming in on 8080. Why New York City needs another sports talk station, I really don't understand. There's talk that some of the WCBS staff who are all going to be let go may go over to WINS Radio, but it's just not going to be the same. I know so many people who prefer that station. They do a news wheel format where you know exactly what's going to be coming at certain minutes per hour. Revenue, as we talked about, was incredible for that radio station. Another sports station when there's already, I think, a couple in New York already.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But people are wondering, is this going to happen to a bunch of other news talk stations?
Yeah.
CBS, there's other CBS all news stations. People are talking about Chicago, Los Angeles, Boston, losing these types of stations as well. AM doesn't seem to be in very good shape, and it's costly to run. I don't know what's going to happen with ESPN going there. One thing I wanted to mention, there is a website dedicated, sort of it might turn into a memorial for WCBS, but it's really a fan site, and it's Don Swaim, so DONSWAIM.com/WCBS News Radio 88.html, and there's some really good historical stuff there. There's a lot of audio clips, all sorts of comments about the station. It's a really interesting site. We'll put a link up on our about it for you if you want to check it out. But I don't know. I mean, it's a done deal. I don't think anything is going to happen to change it.
I'm going to miss the station, that's for sure. I listen to it. I like listening to WCBS, the way they do their news. Two things I just want to mention. Don't forget, they mentioned it in the audio clip that there will be on August 22nd several hours of going back in time into the history of WCBS. That's going to be interesting to listen to. And I'll be probably, if propagation helps, recording the last hour of WCBS and put it on a YouTube channel.
Yep, that's coming up on the 28th, I think it
26th.
is. 26th, sorry, yeah.
At midnight in 1 minute, as they say.
Yeah. And then you can listen to sports.
I don't think I'm going to listen
to be a dramatic change
anymore.
Wow.
So what's happening with our sun? The sun is extremely active. There's a lot of sunspots. A couple of them are really huge. They're creating some X flares and geomagnetic storms that follow a couple of days later, because a lot of them were Earth directed. And this is pretty much what's going to continue. And also something interesting is going to appear during the week ahead, come from the far side of the sun. That is also a very big sunspot. So I guess we're going to stay in very high levels of solar activity with, solar flares from time to time that make the bands go dead for 30 minutes. And then geomagnetic storms that could follow if the coronal mass ejections are hitting our atmosphere. The sunspot number is 164, the solar flux 227, and I think it's worth it to check out the conditions, because they'll be probably variable, but when they're quiet, they're really, really good. And the only way you can check that out is to turn on a radio and listen.
I'm Thomas Witherspoon of Asheville, North Carolina, and you're tuned to the International Radio Report, 30 minutes of news about radio on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal.
We stay in Canada for our next story, and this is a follow-up to a story we had a little while ago about bonuses being paid to CBC employees. And this has surfaced again, a story by Mickey Djuric of Canadian Press. CBC paid out $18.4 million in bonuses in 2024 after eliminating hundreds of jobs. And the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation has paid out the $18.4 million in bonuses this year after laying off jobs that were either caused by letting people go or by not filling vacant posts. Documents obtained through access to information laws show that CBC Radio-Canada paid bonuses to 1,194 employees for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. More than $3.3 million of that sum was paid to just 45 executives. That means those executives got an average bonus of over $73,000, which is more than the median family income after taxes in 2022, according to Statistics Canada. More than $10.4 million was paid out to 631 managers, and over $4.6 million was paid to 518 other employees. The Conservative Party of Canada said the bonuses are, quote, beyond insulting and frankly sickening, adding that they come at a time when many Canadians are starving and facing homelessness. This year's amount is an increase over the $14.9 million paid out to 1,143 employees in 2022-23 fiscal year. The board approved this year's bonuses in June, but it had been refusing to disclose how much was paid out. Members of Parliament have been asking for the figure since last December, when CBC announced it would be laying off employees to help balance the budget. Ultimately, 141 employees were laid off and 205 vacant positions were eliminated at CBC and Radio-Canada. CBC did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The public broadcaster has said the money is performance pay and counts towards some employees' total compensation as stipulated by contracts that promise payouts when certain company goals are met. While the term bonuses has been used to describe performance pay, it is in fact a contractual obligation owing to eligible employees, said spokesperson Leon Marr. In May, CEO Catherine Tate said it brings her great frustration to hear MPs refer to the payouts as a bonus. Still, the broadcaster's board publicly acknowledged the negative optics of giving out bonuses during the same fiscal year that it made cuts, and has since launched a review of its compensation regime for future years. It remains unclear if Tate herself is among those who received a bonus. It's up to the Liberal government, not the board of directors, to approve any bonus for the CEO, unlike other employees of CBC. Canadian Heritage did not immediately respond to questions about that on Monday. MPs on the Heritage Committee unanimously concluded in a report to the House of Commons earlier this year that, given the job cuts, it would be inappropriate for CBC to grant bonuses to executive members.
I don't know.
But they went ahead and did it anyways.
Yeah, I think it's time to maybe do a review of the CBC and check how it's managed and see if there are maybe things that we could change. Because, they refuse to call it a bonus, but it's kind of a bonus. And especially giving all that money when you're laying off people or not replacing people that are, retiring, for example. I don't know. Unacceptable.
It's our money. It's Canadian taxpayers who foot the bill for CBC Radio-Canada.
Yep.
So that is our money being used and used in ways that are, really just don't sit well with the Canadian population, I'm sure. And I think they're very arrogant in the way they,
Totally.
It's not bonuses, it's part of a yes, it was written into their contract, but you had to write it in there in the first place.
Yeah.
And how do you write in giving people that kind of contract agreement that you're going to give them that amount of money as, I don't know other way to call it, but a bonus.
Yep.
But, it's on top of your regular salary.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to. And to be very coy about answering direct questions too is just not acceptable.
No, not all.
Well, it looks like we're running short on time today. We did mention that there were many stories going on all at once. We do have a few more that we were hoping to get to today, but time's just not going to permit us to do that. So what we're deciding to do, we are going to put together a special YouTube-only version of the International Radio Report that'll be available on our YouTube channel. Not exactly sure when that'll be there, but in the next couple days, so we can get these other stories covered of things going on out there. So what we'll do is we'll get to the upcoming ham radio contests and events, and then wrap things up for today, and hope that you'll go and check out the YouTube channel. We'll post a message when the YouTube show is ready to go. So coming up shortly is a major event. The Northeast Ham Exposition is being held at the Best Western Royal Plaza Hotel and Trade Center in Marlborough, Massachusetts. It's a 4-day event, Thursday, August 22nd through Sunday, August the 25th. It's the largest ham radio convention in the Eastern Corridor. The event features forums, a large flea market, a full schedule of events, plus ticket information is available from the event's webpage, which is simply hamx, the letter X, hamexposition.org. Check it out. It's a very impressive schedule of events. If you're in the Boston area, Massachusetts area, you may want to check this out, August 22nd through the 25th, the Northeast Ham Exposition.
And moving to the contests, we have the Hawaii QSO Party, 0400 Zulu, August 24th to 0400 Zulu, August 26th, organized by the Hawaii QSO Party Group, bands 10 through 160 meters, and all modes, including all digital modes.
The Australian Ladies Amateur Radio Association is running their contest 0600 August 24th to 0559 Zulu August 25th. Ladies work everyone and men work only ladies on the air. 160 through 10 meter bands, no work bands, and it is both phone and CW.
The U.S. Islands QSO Party, 1200 Zulu August 24th to 0300 Zulu August 25th, organized by the U.S. Islands Awards Program. So stations in Canada and the U.S., the W stations and VE stations, island stations only work everyone. Non-island stations work only Canadian and American island stations. Bands 160 through 6 meters. The modes, phone, CW, and digital.
The Worldwide Radio Operators Foundation and the Slovenia Contest Club are running their worldwide DigiDX contest at 1200 August 24th to 1200 Zulu August 26th. 6 bands, 1.8, 3.5, 7, 14, 21, and 28. This one is FT4 and FT8 only.
The Romanian Amateur Radio Federation has the YODX HF contest, 1200 Zulu August 24th to 1200 Zulu August 25th. The bands 80 through 10 meters, no work bands, and the modes are SSB and CW.
The Kansas QSO Party Group is running their Kansas QSO Party, 1400 Zulu August 24th to 2000 Zulu August 25th. The bands are 80 through 6 meters, and the modes SSB, CW, digital, and FM.
The Ohio QSO Party, 1600 Zulu August 24th to 0400 Zulu August 25th, organized by the Mad River Radio Club. Bands 160 through 10 meters, no work bands, phone, and CW.
And finally, the Club de Radio Amadores da Escola de Comunicación, Brazil, is running the CVA DX contest, single sideband, 2100 Zulu August 24th to 2100 Zulu August 25th, 160 through 10 meters, no work bands, and that is an SSB contest. We thank you for tuning in. As we said, we'll have a special YouTube show coming up for you shortly, so we do hope you'll check that out. In the meantime, you can reach us by email, radioreport@yahoo.com. Our show live streams and is archived at ckut.ca. Our Facebook group, International Radio Report, we invite you to join that group. Our YouTube channel, with over 1,000 subscribers now, youtube.com/@IRR. That's where to keep an eye out for our special edition coming up. And our X account at IRRCKUT. So that's it for today. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll do it again next Sunday here on CKUT 90.3 FM with the International Radio Report.
Bye-bye, everyone.
This is WCBS and WCBS FM HD2 News.